Right, what are you guys doing?
I'm looking at a slug. There's slugs. Don't touch it. I got one off. Look at that girl. No. I wish I had some.
Ew.
2 of them.
So where are they in there? Huh?
Maybe it's a male and a female. Maybe it's a male and a female. Centipede! 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 Where?
All right.
Okay, now listen. So when I say ready, don't jerk it and risk hurting anybody. We're just going to break the pile open and you all watch what happens, okay? Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, everybody pull your...
Awesome!
So you see all that heat escaping? Okay, now you can just stop now and just look at it. Feel that. I mean, that is hot wood chip. Come on up here and feel it.
I don't want to feel it.
It won't burn you, but
Yes,
I mean, I wouldn't want to sleep down in there. That would get pretty warm. But you know, it's like I explained to you
my hand.
that the trees and the leaves all store energy. That's how we can burn it for firewood.
You don't want to get up?
When we burn it for firewood, that heat that comes into our homes is that stored energy being released. So when the wood chips are in a pile like this, they have nowhere to release that heat except in the pile. And that's why when we break it open, we actually see the decomposition. This is called decomposing. Because they were alive and now they're dying and they're decomposing and their energy is being released as heat.
It looks moldy.
Yeah, that's part of the process.
Why it's so good for the garden?
Because
Why is she even doing this? Why is she doing this at all?
Why do we use the wood chips?
because put wood chips everywhere and then the wood chips go bad.
Well, you know, when you go into the forest, it doesn't have to have anybody taking care of it, does it? The leaves fall down and the twigs fall down and they rot and they decompose and they actually create new soil in the forest. So we bring this here and we're sort of mimicking the forest now in our garden. And we're allowed, every year when we finish growing all of our plants in our garden, we have actually created more soil than we've used because we use this wood chip method.
Good soil.
It brings constant replenishment of nutrients into the garden, so we really love using the wood chip.
What if next year it's still there? It won't.
Well, it probably would be cool by next year, and it would be a much, much tinier pile than what you see now.
Ready? Get in there. Hold on now. Just reach your hand in and...
I can feel from here.
Is it real hot? Super hot? Not like burning hot, is
It's
it?
not burning hot, but it's hot for some wood.
Well, is it like hot as bath water?
Maybe a little less hot. I thought my dad's not really hot.
Oh, okay.
We're picking rhubarb for one of our members
Uh-huh.
who couldn't make it out here this weekend, so we want her to have fresh rhubarb and onions, so we're going to pick fresh stuff for her right now for her CSA. You know that rhubarb leaves are highly toxic, so we always have to cut them off. We don't even put them in the compost pile and risk the animals getting them.
So you
but
do
the
not
stalks,
eat the leaves at all.
yeah, we don't use the leaves for anything, and we don't let the animals have them either. But the stalks, and I find that so amazing. How is it that this stalk can be so full of great and wonderful stuff, and then when you get right here to this leaf, it's poisonous? I don't know. Nature's amazing is all I can say. No, even the animals, they won't touch it. I mean, so you could say, well, why wouldn't you just throw it out? Because if they're a young animal and a little bit dumb about things, they might nibble it. Or if it were an animal that were hungry for some reason, they might eat it. And so we just don't want to risk anything like that happening. So.
As far as the rhubarb itself, what?
Oh, you could make pies, jams, jellies. We made 4 gallons of amazing rhubarb lemonade last week, and
How do you do
well,
that?
I made extra because 2 gallons disappears just like that when we have our volunteers out. But you actually cook it. You cook it down like you were stewing it, and then you strain that liquid off, which is very much like lemon juice. And then you use it just like you would your lemon juice. And you can make just pure rhubarb aid, or you can make half and half rhubarb lemonade.
Could you use it like, what's the new thing, like a salsa?
Oh, absolutely, but it's going to be very tart. But you know, compote, that used to be a term that folks used to hear a lot. It used to be used for compotes, which is sort of like a sweet relish that you would have on the side of a meal. It used to be very popular for that. But we make rhubarb oatmeal bars, and we have that recipe actually on the website, and everybody loves those. It's very simple to make.
Now, what does CSA mean?
Community Supported Agriculture.
Very good.
You know, it started in Japan way back. I read about it the first time in the 70s. And in Japan, you know, they had gotten, the cities were so big and such crowded conditions, and the farmland was disappearing. So a lot of Japanese, mostly ladies, they got together and they said, well, how can we ensure that we're going to have healthy, safe food for our families? All of our farms are disappearing. So they came up with this really great idea that if they went to the farmers and they said, we promise you that we are going to buy the food from you if you promise us you're going to grow it. And so they entered into this program called Community Supported Agriculture, and it's a relationship between the farmer and the customers that if I'm sure I've got customers that are going to be there supporting me and buying what I grow, that I'm going to promise you that I'm going to grow the best, healthiest food possible. And that way, you know, you're not taking a huge risk, but it allows you to really stay true to your principles about safe, beyond organic, healthy food, and you don't veer off of them because you've got customers supporting you, and so you can afford to buy, you know, more expensive seed and use methods that don't guarantee the kind of returns that industrial farm gets by using chemical fertilizers and things like that. So it really does all count on that relationship being there. So we've had a CSA out here now for, I think this is going on 9 years.
Very good.
So these onions are called incorrectly Egyptian walking onions because they're nowhere, you know, they were never from Egypt. They're Native American onions, actually. So some folks call them West Virginia walking onions, which I say, well, that's acceptable to me, but the Egyptian walking onions is not acceptable. The reason they call them walking onions is because these onions in their second year actually begin to develop babies on the top. Now, I've cut these off of the onions, but it actually will develop babies in the sac. And then they get bigger and bigger and heavier, and that sac bursts open, and the mother's arm, we'll call this the mother onion, her arm gets very heavy, and it ends up breaking over and landing on the ground. And then those little onions take root. And so if you left these onions alone, it would appear that they were walking out through the field.
I thought it was simply because they were so strong that people walked away from them.
No, but I guess they are strong. They are strong onions.
Compared to a ramp, you know what a ramp is?
Oh, yes. My friends and I, we went ramp hunting a couple weeks ago. We came up empty.
Oh.
But I did end up finding...
mushrooms?
Yeah, I ended up finding the morels this year for the first time. And we were over repairing a fence and, you know, having a crisis with animals getting out, and I was just about fed up with the day, and I looked down, and there at my feet were all of these amazing golden morels, and I gathered up like 12 or 15 of them, and I just felt like, oh my God, you know, people hand this information down generation to generation as a secret.
Yes.
And here I came upon this morel patch, and so now I have a secret to hand down to somebody.
Well, you'll know where to look next year.
I'm
sure surprised with you have a stream or a pond going through here? Or?
Well, where I found the morels is definitely over where the cattle are, and the creek goes right through there. And it wasn't too far off from the creek that they were located under some very, very old trees. And, you know, I had heard that they often come up under older trees.
Now you are preparing this for...
This is for one of our CSA members who was not able to pick up on Friday or Saturday. And so we arranged that they would come on Monday. And of course, you know, we want them to have fresh produce. So we've just picked this up out of the garden for them, washing it off a little. And this is one share. One share of rhubarb is usually, you know, 4 stalks or so. And one share of onions is usually, you know, about 8 onions. Some age on her. She's 7 or 8 years old, so she doesn't lay every day, but we keep her around because she's a very sweet chicken.
Here they come.
You just hold very still and let them come to you. Don't try to force it on. Now here we have quite a few heirloom or heritage birds. Most of our chickens here are old breeds. This golden one right here is called a Buff Orpington. And this dark mahogany red one eating out of my hand right now, if you notice, she has some black tipping on her tail feathers. And there's a few of those. Those are the Rhode Island Reds.
Okay.
Now over there, the fellows are feeding one of my favorite breeds of chicken. It has all these white freckles on it. That's called a speckled Sussex. Why don't you pick the corn up and bring it over here? We're trying to... Yeah, bring it over here, and we'll get them to eat from our hands.
There you go.
Are you afraid to pick it up? Or, no, just reach down there and pick it up and hand it to me.
They're eating out of my hand.
Yeah, they'll eat out of your hands. They'll pick it off the cob, or they'll eat it out of your hands.
Here comes some more. What are these guys?
Oh, there's the king of the barnyard coming up behind me.
Oh,
He's a crossbred that I bred last year. He's half white rock. And half cuckoo moran. And that's where he gets the white, is from the white rock, and those stripings that you see in him is from the moran. And he ended up being a really beautiful bird.
Cuckoo moran, huh?
Cuckoo moran, white rock cross. Now this old gal going that way, she's one of my old dark Cornish. That's the original old dark Cornish hen. Now we'll cross them a lot of times for, you know, a dual-purpose meat bird that lays pretty good for 1 year, and then we put them in the soup pot the next year.
Oh.
In fact, that's one of her daughters right there at the dish beside you, that dark black one. That is the cross that we're talking about that ends up giving you a really nice dual-purpose chicken.
Now you have about... how many chickens?
Oh my, probably 80, 90, around in that number.
Now as far as the members and stuff, these are not like they can say, hey, we want a chicken, or...
No, but every year we hatch babies and we will sell chicks. And then when we're able to tell whether they're males or females, we'll sell young pullets. But then usually by August, I've stopped selling young ones and I'm just raising my replacement hens by August. So if anyone wants to buy anything, they need to make it earlier in the summer.
Now, as far as pullets means...
Well, a pullet is a young hen that hasn't started laying yet, but you can tell that it's a girl.
Okay.
And then the first year that they lay, you still refer to them as pullets because they have pretty small eggs. And then that second year, they're a full-fledged hen.
Okay. Now, as far as the difference, let's say, between, this would be what, a free range?
Oh, yeah, these chickens are very free range. Even though this little area that we're in right now, this is like their sanctuary area where they know that they can come for safety.
Right.
But when they go out that gate right there behind you, they go out into the woods, out into the pond area, out into the pastures. But they hang out in here, of course, because they have easy access to always having fresh food and water and protection.
Right.
So they're around here a lot. But I'm sure there's quite a few of them that are out in the woods right now. That's why you don't see 100 chickens in here at the moment. This area back here is mostly for the laying hens and the laying ducks.
What about males? You said about pullets. What happens with the males?
Well, the males are pretty much, I mean, like here comes a beautiful male black Australorp here right now. And last year when I raised those, we probably had 15 or 20 of them, but we only need one good male, unfortunately. So I have like 3 roosters here for 85 hens.
Oh boy.
Because we just don't need much more than that in the hen house.
Right.
So almost all the roosters are meat animals, even if they are of the laying breeds.
And I guess they get bigger anyways.
Yes, they do. And they fight. They fight with each other, and there's injuries, and medical attention needs to be given, and they can put each other's eyes out with their spurs and that kind of thing. So we don't keep a lot of unnecessary roosters around.